What's up, guys? It's Akrameth here. Eventually we're gonna get to this, but we are designing Ivy from Soul Calibur. You guys are weird, yeah. I'm pointing at you. I put out another poll. Firstly, it was Diva, but the second most voted was Ivy. So I said, yeah, why not? You know, this is my redesign, so don't judge me. Okay, don't judge me. It's my design choice. It's just art. It's just arts. This is going to be another redesigning video. Also, just so you're aware, I have made a Discord, and this is just so we can have free chats. I'm trying to build up a community out of this channel as well, and I also like hearing you guys' opinions on my art, or like whether it's constructive, whether you don't like it. I appreciate it, and I appreciate everyone that supported me thus far. This is just a side note too. I've also released a Patreon itself, but this is only for people that want to support. You are supporting just by watching these videos. But I'd say please join up my Discord. It will be nice to actually have conversations with like-minded individuals like yourselves and people that subscribe to this channel. But it's optional. You don't have to. You can just keep watching the videos. But that is that. Let's get to this redesign.
Okay, let's go. Back with another redesign. So, for Ivy, I started off by just trying to understand what type of armor I wanted for her. I wanted to include, like, this is my first design, I wanted to include like some sort of furry pelt, maybe like a white one, like a polar bear of sorts, just to give her some form of like royalty. I feel like royal characters tend to have some sort of fur, and it also suits her. It suits her character and her vibe very well. I ended up going with something else, but it's just cool to see what I kind of started with. It gave me inspirations for other designs that I later do, but for now I'm just like kind of getting the groundworks for what I want for her design. Obviously I want it to be armor heavy. I want it to kind of include some sort of armor that kind of wraps around or represents like bone armor. If I'm trying to think of things that inspired me, I guess I would say like Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter has a lot of like bone-esque like designs within their different armor sets, but I wanted hers to have some sort of like on her shoulder, it's like I don't even know what you call it, like some sort of demon skull thing that's closed on both her shoulders. And that ended up being like the basis for most of her armor, like her legs, as you can see, her gauntlets, and her shoulder designs. What also inspired me too is I don't know if you guys have ever played the game Gravity Rush, but there's a character in the game called Raven who has like these, I don't even know what you call them, kind of like, it's like attached to her wrist. I don't know what you call them. I'm just going to call them like kind of sashes, like giant sashes that kind of hang from her. And that gives me a sense of like royalty in a way. I don't know why, but it just does. If you agree with me, just you get what I mean when I say it. Maybe I'm completely off and it looks nothing like royalty, but that's what I had. I also decided to give Ivy a snake tattoo. It just, I don't know, because it's Ivy and her name's like, you know, it reminds me of Poison Ivy. So I thought like a snake tattoo was fitting on her right shoulder. I just made it just so she has armor on her left. It's kind of similar to most of the designs that she had, but I like the aesthetic, so I kept it. I added a choker on her neck and on her hat too. It's just the basis for the design. I felt it was kind of fitting since she, you know, chokers are normally associated with like emo, goth, or kind of, you know, stuff of the other nature, you know, like choker, ball, gag, etc. If you don't, that means you're very pure, and that's a good thing. I decided to go for like almost like she has like metal roses in the beginning for like her whip. I wanted it to be like a mace, but I decided to go for like at the end of it, it's like a big kind of armored rose. in a way that has spikes on it, and it extends out, kind of like her normal weapon does, or sword, where it kind of extends and comes back. But instead of just a sword that retracts and comes back together, I just said it would be cool to just give her something that just fully extends. I also gave her like kind of armor that wraps around her rib cage, almost like ribbed armor. Thought that was very cool in the sense, but I kept the fur just around the top of her gauntlets that kind of just fit the design together. Her hair, I kind of make that like slicked back hair, kind of like Steve Fox from Tekken. I don't know, it kind of reminds me of like that one Kim Kardashian picture. I also gave her like a, what do you call this kind of hat? It reminds me of like Beyonce, or like kind of cowboy kind of aesthetic. Just like, I don't know what kind of hat this is, but I decided to give her one because it kind of fitted the look. She kind of looks like a dominatrix kind of character, if you get what I mean. So over here, I'm just mapping out her gold elements for the design. I wanted to go for a purple and gold because that color just goes really well. Fortunately, that is her colorway, and I really like that color palette. So I decided to include like obviously some white, some black kind of accents there, and also some purple, like her innards of her like kind of like armor, or what she wears. Remove the armor, it just looks like lingerie in a way, because Ivy's very sexy. Okay, so my design's kind of coming together. So yeah, like her whip is kind of going to be like a silver, and her overall armor design is gold, and I was happy with it. So I sketched out just a very sexy looking female figure, and Ivy, she's very busty with her cleavage and such, but I decided to exaggerate the proportions. She's a tall woman too. If you are enjoying so far, please give a like, comment, or subscribe for more. It's free. Yeah, so I'm just kind of like, it's so weird. When you come up with these concepts and you have to redraw them, it's actually kind of tough, because now I have to, I normally do front and back, but just to save time, I do the front, and then I just let my kind of imagination do the work. So yeah, her inside of her gauntlets kind of has a face, kind of like bones, kind of like a demon, kind of like sneering at you in a way. I don't know where I got that design, but I'm just gonna say Monster Hunter. I made her mace like a whip, and it has a rose on it because that's what they call those things that women use for playtime, if you want to call it that, if you catch my drift. And what I do is I do the overall sketch underneath, and then I draw on top. So I normally use like a different color, so I can kind of mess around and see how it looks, stretch it out before adding like the full ink. But it's just so it kind of like just allows me to design each piece of clothing where I see fit and make changes without me actually merging the layers together and kind of making my life harder, if that makes sense. Okay, here you can see me draw, I'm gonna say her wings, let's call it that. Here you can see me doing her kind of wings in a way. I always use, like, if I can't understand like references, I'm not the best drawer, but sometimes a reference does help in case of like lining out like hats, or just lining out just the way you want something. For her whip, I just literally just squiggled, and I was like, this makes sense if she wrapped it around herself like so. All right, so now I finally have the design where I want it. Here's the full inking phase. This part is the longest part, I'd say, because even though I've done everything and it's, all laid out for me, and now I have to kind of refine and make sure that all the lines are in place. Sometimes I go over them, make slight changes where the concept didn't work. because I'm moving through quickly, it just kind of helps me understand where everything is. I should have never drew. Sorry about that. I live in Gotham. I should have never drew the actual whip. I should have left it because that got in the way of where I was drawing things. So I had to kind of just make it work from memory or just kind of the concept itself. Unfortunately, I find it easier once I've done something and then I can just adjust where I see fit. We really need a Soul Calibur 7. I haven't played Soul Calibur in so long. I used to play Soul Calibur, I think Soul Calibur 2 and Soul Calibur 4. Yeah, Soul Calibur in terms of their character design and stage design, it's just so grand. I can't remember what that palace stage was called with like it's like a water palace. I'll put it up on screen, but if you probably remember. I used to main Siegfried, that was my guy. Kind of remind me of like Guts and Berserk, just big sword characters like Ike and characters like that. That's usually me. Okay, so here you can see me lining out like where her leggings going. Because of the way I drew it, it kind of saved time because of the way her leg is kind of positioned and kind of hide all the details of her right leg because you're not meant to see it, you know? When you know the rules, you can break them. I made the mistake of not drawing. So this is a prime mistake. I made the mistake of not drawing her actual hat on the concept, so I kind of just had to make it work afterwards, but I just forgot about the hat. I don't know why. I don't know if I was looking at other things. Yeah, I don't know. I was just not focused on the hat. And sometimes it gets to a point where even though I love to draw, once I start taking like really long on it, I'm kind of just like, I need to finish this. I need to finish this as soon as. And now I just add the detail line. So once I've done the full ink, I kind of go over and just add little like sketched or like shading elements. It's normally just me just doing like cross hatching to kind of just refine out her limbs or just define elements of her design or any of the clothing parts which she wears. It's normally just light stuff, but it makes a difference in the long run, trust me. It's crazy. I'm so not good when it comes to leg muscles, but she is a very muscular looking, tall woman, you know? So I just have to make sure that it looks the part in a way. Okay, so coming up to the end. By the way, if you did enjoy, again, please like, comment, and subscribe. I will have another video coming out very soon for a character. I hate falling behind on work, but procrastination does take over, but we must prevail. For shading, I normally like draw over her whole body in like a white and kind of alpha lock that line. And then I'll have like a gray, like a medium kind of gray, which I'll go over. And then afterwards I kind of fade it out or smudge it where necessary, just so it looks like the shading is more natural. I left the armor out separately and I just focused purely on her skin and just the like kind of textured part of her clothes, not anything like that has metal attached. And then here you see me just kind of just making rough examples. Here you can see me just painting out her armor. Now when it comes to like gold or like some sort of metal, I want to make it shiny on purpose, but I always have to start with a gray and then I add colors over it, or I just adjust layer elements just to make it fit into metal. So it's just another way of saving time instead of just doing like a yellow and then doing it from there. It just makes sure that every tone is consistent. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it helps a ton, trust me. by the way, for anyone that does like art, if you guys use Procreate, if you're watching this video and you use Procreate, please let me know on any tips that I can use to improve my art. I am in no way, shape or form a professional. I've just been using Procreate for like a long time, so I kind of have my way. But I always try and like search up videos to kind of, how can I say, to kind of temper my craft or make sure that I'm always looking for new ideas or new options of design. Sorry about like the black screen, because I'm doing specific like metal textures. I normally have that just so I can see everything around it, and then here you can see it coming together with the shading. I not merge all the layers, I just adjust them so it makes sense, so everything looks the part. And then I kind of mess around with everything's an experiment. I then just start messing around with the colors. Everything starts to flow together perfectly, and now it's coming all together. My favorite part by far is the highlights. Here I'm just going over the like textures or going over the metal or where the light is hitting from like the top left. Just allows me to just improve on stuff and just make little lights and shading. I then also give the metal a hue as well. And here we are. Okay, and here is the final. Really happy with the way it came out. It looks very grand. I had to put it in the Soul Calibur library stage background too. The purple and the gold really pop well together. Here are some other variations. I have one in a blue and gold, and then just another one just in like a more like armored and like metal and just purely like grayscale effect. Yeah, man, really happy with the way it came out and the variations. It looks solid. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you got to the end of the video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and check out some of my socials and also my Discord and other things. But no, I really appreciate you watching, and have a blessed day. Peace.